Welcome back to the channel and to this episode of the Owl Diary, my little vlog of me and my various falconry shenanigans, as it were. So I'm going to start off today in Scout's enclosure here. I actually have to take her in and put some flying dresses on in a minute. I've also got some other jobs to do, some behind the scenes bits and pieces, which I'll show you in this video. Now, she has started molting. How do I know? Because there are lots of feathers all over the enclosure. She's dropping them actually very constantly. Now, this is something that all birds do. They repair their feathers by simply growing new ones, and especially when you've got a juvenile bird, because Scout here isn't even 1 year old yet, they're going to lose their juvenile feathers, which are a bit softer, a bit more likely to be broken, and then grow a whole set of new ones. But she's started molting for what I think is quite early. It's still only February. Usually these birds wait till spring at least. But she is a semi-Arctic bird. That's probably got something to do with it. And because she is now molting, I'm going to bring her weight back up. So not so much flying weight. I have been doing a lot of flying, mostly indoors with her recently. And now it's time to get her weight up, because then the extra food helps the brain say we've got the energy to molt well and give her that extra energy for growing new feathers. So when people have actually been working with this owl and they've come into the enclosure, they've found that she is one of two things. One, a little bit Avery defensive, so she's been bouncing off people, which is quite normal and expected. And the other thing is that they struggle to get hold of her. Now, I actually find it a bit easier, and hopefully, as I show her here, I should be able to just pick her up. Go on then. That's it. But she does know me, of course. That helps. I did hand rear her. But we're going to put some flying dresses on her next as well. I'll take her inside to weigh her and do that. And then I've got some very tasty quail to offer her. Very enriched food when it comes to nutrients to help with her molting. And she's going to have a lot of feathers to grow, because she's going to replace pretty much all of her feathers, certainly all the primary flying feathers and tail feathers, over the next few months. So I'm just going to pop her in this box of hers here, just to allow me to get myself inside securely, because the safety corridor ends here and there is a short gap between here and the rear door of the property. Alright then, let's have a look. We need some scales. This area here actually is just been a right mess, and it's simply because we don't really have somewhere to put everything. Now, outside, when I get a spare hour or two somewhere, I'm going to finish building a dry store area. We're going to move the freezer back outside. We're going to have shelving for everything, all the equipment here, and it'll just make it a lot easier to keep things neat and tidy. But staff come back, they dump stuff, the next day they come and get what they need, and it's just not good enough really. Bear with me, I'm going to find some scales. Right, I'll use this one here. Okay, so yesterday I did feed her a little bit more food in preparation for bringing her weight up. And we don't need to have her flying for anything over the next few months, so we can let her have that time at a higher weight. So she's currently £1.15, and we're probably going to see a raise to something like £2.04 maybe at the top end, which should be sufficient. I'm now going to put on these flying dresses. Here's some I made earlier. Was that a blue Peter line? I think it may have been. And the way it works is essentially you've got the hole there. Excuse me, my fleece is not to be eaten. And we pop the end through, and it just gives us something to hold onto the bird with. Now, it does seem a bit backwards, doesn't it, that I actually have been flying the bird without flying dresses on, and now we're going to put them on and fatten the bird up. But that's just the way the timings have worked out. Let go, thank you. So this, hopefully, is going to work quite easily. I've gone for probably something a little bit thicker than is necessary. Right then. So if you're wondering why she's nibbling me, there are a number of reasons. Firstly, owls don't see very well close up. It's quite blurry close up. And if a bird is used to you feeding it by hand, then sometimes they like to investigate like that. Usually it doesn't hurt too much, but sometimes they can be a little bit sharp and a bit tighter than they want them to be. Right, I'm going to try now and get these on without having to do anything like casting in a towel, because I just feel like that would be a much better way of doing it. But this is one of those things in falconry where you really do have to have patience. This might take me a while. we have the second one on. Come on then. Actually, the first one I got on quite easily, but then the second one was actually a little bit more challenging. But she was more inquisitive with me and my fingers. You know, I'm not bleeding or anything. And she's been, as you can see, quite gentle there. What I love about these owls, and if I stand up and if I bring this up a little bit, if you look very closely at her eyes, they're nice and slowly. If I bring my finger up, watch her eyelid over there. Can you see on the eyelid? That's the nictitating membrane. Try and look at the eye again when she opens it. You saw it once. Now she's just shutting her eye entirely. But if you look, you'll see a grey, translucent one come down from an angle. Look at this way. No, she's just shutting her eyes now. We've lost it. We did see that first one though. Right, I'll pop her back in the aviary and prepare some quail for her. So she's getting a 5-star meal today. I currently have 3 Harris hawks and 2 of them are out today at bookings, which means Maverick here has kind of got his day off. Now I've just given him a warm bath. When it's winter and it's cold, we still want to offer water for the birds, but we don't want to offer them too much water, especially if it is cold, being the risk of wing trypoedema and things like that. So what I do is I fill up a bath with cold water and then I add hot water, check it with my fingers, it feels okay, then we can let the bird have its bath. What I've done after he's had a wash is fed him some quail, which of course is on the menu today for most of the birds, which is very rich in nutrients, lots of vitamins in there, and of course much higher in protein as well, and lots of other goodness. And he's really enjoyed his meal. Now, as you can see, the crop here is actually quite visible on the front, and you can even see a little bit of the skin inside of the feathers there. That's a sign that he's had a good meal. And this photo was taken some months ago when this particular hawk had caught a pigeon up a tree during some work and had to then be called down for, I think it was 3 or 4 chicks, which he then continued to eat. And one of the young junior falconers was looking at the bird and said, "Will it burst?" It looked like it would. A hawk like Maverick here doesn't know when the next meal's going to come along. Well, he should. I feed him every single day and have done for many years, but still that instinct is there. It's a survival thing. If there's a lot of food available, it's a good idea to eat it all, and therefore you don't have to hunt again for, a number of days or so. Right, I'm going to pop him back in his enclosure now, I think, because it's only going to start raining soon, and we need to keep him from getting too wet, ideally. Something that needs doing on a regular basis is replacing anklets, jesses, and things like that. I got this new leather recently, ordered it online, a little bit thicker and lovely, smells beautiful, and we're going to use this to make some new flying jesses and other types of jesses, and I have got some other coloured leather I'll be using for some of the birds. I'll be attaching some of them on today because we kind of need them for elements of control when we're working with the birds. So what I've got here is a metal ruler, my hole punch, leather hole punch. I've got a pair of scissors because that's useful as well, and usually a craft knife, but the craft knives have all broken. So I'm now using this one here, which is a kitchen knife, but I'll sharpen the edge. So essentially all I'm going to do, use this straight line here, and these are going to be for anklets actually, for an eagle owl. So I'm going to go for a fairly chunky size like so, and I'm going to very carefully cut down. I'm just going to cut the edges off there. So now I've got my nice straight strip. I need to punch in a hole on the end here. So these aren't going to be really fancy anklets. These are going to be something that will suffice to put on and off an eagle owl as and when I need to. So they'll look okay. They just won't look like really, really stylish. I'm just going to taper off the edges there. Just round them off, as it were. Okay, and now what I need to do is put my slit in which I'd usually use a craft knife for, but I'm going to struggle with this leather, and I'm going to go just a little bit from that hole there. I'm using a larger, it's the largest size hole on the thing, so that should be enough to allow me to get that through there with a little bit of a manipulation. So there we have it, a little anklet there. So the way that it works, of course, is that pushes through the gap like so and pulls through, and we have a nice locking in place anklet that's about the right size for the owl, with the ring, identity ring, stays on top. In this line of work, there's always maintenance to do, especially with wooden aviaries. They do deteriorate, and you've always got to fix bits here, replace bits there, and that does include perches, especially when you've got birds like Eva, our Canadian great horned owl, and other large owls that like to rip and chew on the astroturf. This looks like it's been this way for quite a while, and to be fair, it has. I've finally got some time to replace it. But it didn't take the owl long to destroy it. But I do want the owl to have the right type of astroturf on here for the condition of the feet. This original star astroturf is really good for the feet, pretty much eradicates bumblefoot. And they do like to sit on these perches most of the time, so it's important we have it. But really, you kind of think, well, is there an alternative, something they're not going to destroy and you have to replace every few months? But at the moment, I don't have a solution to that. So instead, we're just going to replace this beam here. So there we go, nice repaired astroturf perch. And actually, Eva, the culprit for destroying the last one, is currently in a different aviary, because at the moment we have Cassie, the 27-year-old eagle owl, and we also have the other one, which I forgot the name of, who's 16 years old, which they are currently living together, and we are moving them to another location, another hub. I'll be announcing on this channel very, very soon all about that. They're not really quite tame enough to be handled or flown anymore, so they're going to be aviary birds, and we've got a lovely big enclosure for them, so this is just a temporary home for them at the moment.